There are a few things that exist in the world of cartoons and animations that are not based off something else. Be it Disney taking inspiration from classic fairy tales, the comic book companies wanting to make an animated version of their superheroes, or toy companies turning their product into a show to sell it all. Original concepts that start as cartoons are rarer than one might think. But when it comes to basing a cartoon off of a real-life celebrity, the results in question tend to be, well, lackluster to say the least, mostly by the fact that they feel like the show could be supported entirely by the celebrity's likeness and nothing else. But one particular show outdoes them all, offering us an interesting cartoon with a world that you can really enjoy. And that show is Jackie Chan Adventures. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I am your ever-friendly Pokeprof, and welcome back to Fascinating Fiction. So, what exactly did Jackie do with his show that made it so well loved and received when compared to other shows based off Chuck Norris or MC Hammer flopped so hard? Well, there's a lot that goes into making a cartoon, and even one with all the elements I'm going to be covering here aren't always successful, but I think a lot worked into Jackie's favor. The first and probably biggest thing to go off of why this show was as good as it is, honestly, I really think it just came down to the fact that Jackie Chan is a very humble man. So many other shows that have celebrities being more or less Superman, or having the focus being so much on them that everyone else gets ignored, is a very, very common thing. But this cartoon doesn't do that. We get a wide cast of characters, and while Jackie is the focal point character, essentially the main one, he isn't infallible. He makes mistakes, gets defeated, and even causes some of the issues in the show itself. World building is another one of its major strong points, taking its time to craft the actual universe of what the show will give us an episode at a time. We're introduced to what Jackie himself is capable of, being the classic almost Looney Tunes style of martial arts that he's famous for in his films, while also being introduced to the fantastical elements of the show, being the secret government organization Section 13, the existence of magic, and the start of the chase for the talismans, special items that can grant their holder an array of superpowers such as super strength, invisibility, and even immortality. This slowly grows into an urban fantasy world that spans across several cultures and mythologies. While there's a lot of Chinese influence given not only the main cast, but the fact that the talismans are based off the Chinese zodiac, as well as one of the major recurring minor characters being the Monkey King, we see places and items from other cultures as well, such as the armbands of Shiva, Stonehenge, and characters like Spring Hill Jack and Quetzalcoatl. That's probably one of my favorite aspects of the entire series. The willingness to go and include myths, stories, beings, and locations that aren't normally seen in American television. Seriously, when's the last time you heard Spring-Heeled Jack in any cartoon other than this one? So, we've got our world, and we've got our main cast, but we've seen a lot of TV shows fail because they don't do anything with those concepts. So how exactly is the story of Jackie Chan Adventures? Well, I honestly have to say that I think it's actually one of the best blends I've ever seen when it comes to having a show with an ongoing plot, while still having the adventure of the day style content. I'd actually have a hard time comparing it to any other series to give a proper example of this kind of television since, well, it's rare for shows to have ongoing changes or updated elements outside of the big season openings or finales. Gargoyles, or the 2017 DuckTales, are probably the closest comparisons I could make here, but the former had a lot more story and plot that you actually needed to know for certain episodes, while the latter, while excellent, had a lot more standalone elements that never really made impact on the greater story. But how do you put this all together and make it work? Through a little bit of crafting and a helping heaping of interesting character elements. We start with Jackie's main role in the series, being an archaeologist, giving us an easy means for why the man would be traveling around the world, and the perfect start of the series itself proper, as he finds a shield that has everyone chasing after it. We actually learn shortly after that
she is not important. The talisman in the center of the shield is.
Thanks, Uncle. Actually, this is the next character I was going to be talking about, considering it's thanks to Uncle that we actually know about anything mystical or magical within this setting. Throw in the Dragon Demon Shendu, the secret villainous organization all about wanting control and power, the Dark Hand, and a bunch of martial artists pulled right out of Jackie Chan's movies, and you've got an entertaining first season. Except it doesn't stop there. Characters that featured in one-shot episodes like Viper or El Toro come back to become steadfast allies. The characters change over the course of the entire series, with Toru, who was originally one of the villains, becoming one of the major heroes, and the villains being used in different means with a different big bad each time. And while the Chinese elements never really leave the show, again, considering the main cast, they don't just repeat the whole Chinese zodiac over and over again. Instead of using different demons, each representing different classical elements, such as the moon, sky, and earth, that the heroes have to fight against. All while creating a world that you can easily see developed further thanks to these cast and characters, while getting to experience some new stories and myths that you don't really see. Seriously, tell me when's the last time you actually saw a cartoon talk about a Chinese vampire and the weird ways you actually have to go about to defeat it. I will say that there is one bad thing about the series, and that's unfortunately the fact that it never got a proper full DVD release. Which isn't too surprising for a lot of cartoons that came out in the late 90s and the early 2000s. Which means that the only way to really watch this show right now is through less than lawful means. And that's frankly a sad thing considering how good the show itself actually is. With solid writing, fantastic world building, excellent characters, and just flat out quality from a cartoon that is all based around a single celebrity, it's a show that should be hallmarked and remembered as something for all other shows to strive to. This is how you make television around just one single subject, in this case a celebrity, and make it work. It's a cartoon that I'm always going to be down to rewatch again and again to see the wonderful adventures of Jackie Chan. With that, I hope you have all enjoyed another episode of Fascinating Fiction, and will hopefully look forward for more to come. Should you have any suggestions on something you'd like to see me cover, please leave a comment below, as well as liking the video and subscribing if you wish to see more content like this. It really does help us out. Be sure to also check out Getting With the Program, a more off-the-cuff show in which Kitty Cross, Ash and Sky and I go through a series that one of us are not familiar with episode by episode, and give our honest thoughts about them. I also have a Twitter and a Twitch if you wish to follow us there, where we usually will play games and just give my general thoughts about what's going on at the time. But until then, folks, stay frosty.